Can you hear me, Jim?
Bobby?
Hey, Jim, that's me.
Jeff may phone in if that's not already him on the line there. Let's see, I've got to.
Can you hear me, Jim?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right, yeah, that's me. It's Jeff. You can't see me though, right?
Nope, can't see you. It's all right.
Oh, what a shame for you.
Yeah.
I'll stay on the line now, okay?
Yes.
All right. See you in a bit.
Bob, he's running around in his underwear.
Who's that?
Jeff.
I didn't have the audio on. I was trying to find out why it wasn't working. But I have it now. Well, I guess it's being recorded, so I better not say anything.
Well, I don't know. I haven't turned on the recorder, but yeah, you better not.
Yeah. Oh, is he calling from the car?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is there a lot of noise?
no, I just a little
Is there
background.
Do you want me to, maybe I can mute myself somehow?
No, it's not bad.
No? Let me see.
Dana?
Can you hear
How the
me?
hell do I mute myself?
Yep, I can hear you.
How you doing?
Good. You?
Good. Very good. Good to see you, Jim.
Same.
And I'm Roger, Bob. I think it says Dana Jr. on my.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought you looked a little different.
But I just spoke with Dana Senior. Dana Jr. is his son, but Dana should be joining us in a second.
Okay. And I guess Brian's joining us too.
All right.
We got Jeff. Bob is here visually, and Jeff's here on phone, and myself from the board.
Great.
And I've shared material with them so they know what the topic is and what's gone on to date. And they were involved in the original hearing as well.
Enjoying this weather. Can't believe we got through the winter without too many issues.
Well, let's hope we get enough rain this year so we don't end up with an August and July that's just,
Yeah, I hear you.
problems. I understand
well,
they, go ahead, Bob.
I was gonna say there's one thing I've learned about this year is that because we had that very warm weather early and then it was followed by cold and then it was warm again and cold, that a lot of rose bushes died and a lot of other plants aren't flowering as a result. Like my azaleas aren't flowering this year. At least they're not dead.
We get Brian in here. Now I gotta figure out how to get to share my screen. Okay, I got it. I see the button. Well, we've got 2 hearings tonight or this afternoon. Another one's just up the street from you, Roger.
Yeah, I saw that. It's a new tea shop.
Yep, yeah, it is.
It's like across the street.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, there's been several people in there over time, and the last one, well, they had a barber shop supply place, which didn't make much sense, and then a real estate broker before that, and of course then the
The jeweler was there for a long time.
jeweler was there,
He was
and
there for a long time.
also the one below, the one that's down, moved with her mother, basically. What the heck is it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She
Sweet
was
Baby.
in there as a second shop, basically, because they needed more space, and that's why they moved down the street on Main Street, which quite frankly helps enliven that end. With the bank moved down there, she's down there basically, and another project that potentially is going to be built up where the building has been abandoned, or not so much abandoned, but
Oh, the Molise building there.
yeah. So that's all going basically. So
Yes.
hopefully in a few years, something will be there.
Are they gonna tear that down and build something new? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
well, they are gonna use, I guess, some components of the old building structurally, I guess, at this point.
Okay.
Hi, Dana.
Hey, guys, sorry
Uh,
about that. I was technical difficulties getting on.
Don't worry about it. I'll have some before we're through here.
How's you doing, Jim?
It's just the way it goes. So anyway, they want to use some of the structural components because it's heavy timber, I suppose, but until they open the clam down there, they won't know how much they can save and how much they can't save. But before the board to put a 2-story in there with retail on the first floor and housing on the second, and I guess the third floor towards the back is the grade drops off back there. So it will fill that hole and be very nice. It looks, what we've seen so far from the ZBA, it really looks quite nice. And it will help that end of town too. So
Good.
since we're, I guess we can start. This is a design review board meeting, and I've got to read a thing here. So it's the May 23rd, 2023, a little after 3:30. So here we go. Consistent with the governor's orders extending certain provisions of the open meeting law, every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to meetings in real time. If you do not have a camera or microphone on your computer, you may use the following dial-in: 1-301-715-8592, meeting ID 875-1594, 3988, password 244058. Please only use dial-in or computer and not both, as audio feedback will distort the meeting. This meeting will be audio and video recorded in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. This location is accessible to people with disabilities. Wakefield provides reasonable accommodations and/or language assistance free of charge upon request. If you are a person with disability and require information on materials in the alternate format, or if you require any other accommodations, please contact Town Disabilities Coordinator William Renault, Town Engineer, 781-246-6308, as far as in advance of the event as possible. Every effort will be made to grant your request. Advanced notification will enable the town to make reasonable arrangements to remove the accessible barriers for you. So with that, we have two projects, 377 Main Street Financial Center. Following that will be 8 Albion Street, which is really a discussion basically with the applicant on options that they have. So it's not a formal submission. It's more of a discussion as to what they have for options basically for their location. So with that, I'll start with 377, and if I can bring up my screen. If I can, I don't know.
There you go. It's coming.
Okay, so wrong one. All right, so here we are. Everybody can see that, all right?
We're looking at your email, kind of your
Right.
item. What are you trying to show us?
I'm showing you a memo, basically.
No. We're seeing like your folder, Jim, with all the stuff in there for 377 Main.
Okay. So,
Yeah, it has the agenda, 377 Main and.
Yeah, if you open it, we'll probably see it.
yeah, it's open, but it's open on maybe a different file or something like that.
Double click there, that might open it. Here it comes.
All right, so here's the proposal at this point. I put the statistics down below so we can talk about it.
We're not seeing it.
Ah, really?
No. We're still seeing your file folder.
Maybe I got to get rid of my file folder.
If you get it opened on your computer, Jim, and then go to share,
There
and
it is.
then, there you go.
There you go.
We see.
All right. I told you, Dana, I'd be screwed up, so don't feel bad. The previous application or previous design basically has gone through both the design review board and the zoning board. And in both cases, it wasn't acceptable for both boards. So here we are with something that's much more appropriate to scale to the building, basically. And the issues I think before us in here is that first off, the sign is over 15 square feet. And that's by the board is reason to go to the zoning board to begin with, because the way the regulations are written, every sign should be 15 square feet, which is ridiculous given the size of the buildings to start with. So this is one you'll be back before the board, and I think it was left open that you probably would be coming back to the board anyway.
Yes,
Brian, is this still open with the board?
it is. I kept it open because when we're done with you, we have to go back to the board. I
Yeah.
didn't want to have to refile. So whenever we're resolved here, we're ready to go back.
Yeah, you're not thinking you can do it Wednesday, can you?
No, no.
It will be June,
Let's
1st
see.
of June.
Hang on, Jim. I'm gonna tell you right now. Just because that's a good question. Let me just see here.
This is the last of May coming up, so it's gonna be June. And luckily there's 2 in June, but I don't think they're
No,
gonna.
it is on, I have it on for tomorrow night. So technically, if we get this resolved today, we could bring this forward tomorrow night if you were ready.
Okay, all right. The other piece of this is that the size of the letters, as I understand it, are 20 inches. And 14 inches is what's allowed by table 1. Again, with the increased size of the sign, obviously there should be an increase in the size of the lettering as well. So the other piece here, and I think this came up before, was the location of the sign. The sign should be in a sign band. It should be not above the second floor, which it is in this proposal. So here's the way I look at this point, and Bob, you can speak up if you've got anything you want to talk about, is that the idea that's been proposed here is a good one. The size, though, in two areas basically are over what we've been using for scaling. All right. Now I should explain this, is that I've been involved, and we stopped it in 2019 because of COVID. I have been in a rewrite basically of the whole code for signage, or at least a modernization of it. And one of the things we wanted to do that was in the old code, or in this code you're having to deal with right here, is that it says every sign wants to be 15 square feet. So every applicant that wants to do bigger than 15 square feet has to spend a lot of time with the zoning board, basically, both in the time before and after, basically. So you get like 90-day period to get a sign approved. So I put together a chart, which has been approved basically within the committee, that allows for measuring the length of the exposure of the space that's occupied, and putting that chart up that allows then for the size of a sign to be in that future bylaw, allows for that sign to immediately be approved by the design review board. So in this case, I'll go to this next piece. So in this case, this building is 55 feet on exposure on Albion Street. And if you go to this chart, basically you see that 41 to 43 is, or plus, basically beyond that, you're in this area of the chart. It means that your letter height can be as much as 24 inches, but your sign can't be greater than 35. So you can't do 70. I mean, when I say this, I'm saying that we would not recommend anything over 35 square feet. Now, if you want to go to the board and say, the zoning board, and say, we want 35, we want 70, that's entirely up to you. But we wouldn't make a recommendation for anything greater than 35. Now, just so you know what the yardstick here is, we selected, at the time that we did this, we selected 35 when we were writing this new rendition. 35 was the square footage of CVS sign. So we didn't want anything on Main Street or any other place basically was greater than 35 square feet. So that's what drives the limit on this. But as you can see, there's a whole chart basically of other scales of buildings and what the size of they can be. And so as opposed to 15 square foot in the future, basically you can go to this chart and you know how big a sign you can have immediately without going to the zoning board and asking them for a bigger sign. So I guess what I'm saying is that this sign is, I think you need to ask that you can be above the first floor, second floor, where you are right now in the proposal. That if you are looking to be 75 square feet, then you need to ask the board to be 75 square feet. But we're not going to write a memo to the board, to the zoning board, basically saying we're recommending that 75 feet is the right dimension for that sign. We're going to say it's 35. The letters, you could see that it was on that chart was 24. So the lettering could be greater than 20. It could be 24. But at this point, I think because you're trying to fit yourself between the edge of the roof and the window, you're limited basically as to how much bigger in height you can make the sign. You stretch the letters out, so obviously you can get the letters in a smaller sign. And I would say the other thing is you might want to consider that the sign is either centered like you got it, or maybe over the entrance to the business where you've got the windows and the doorways and the like. But that's sort of up to you as to where you want to place it on the building. So having said all that, I guess you guys can respond if you would.
So let me start, Jim. So
Yeah.
Thanks for going through that. And you know, the one question I got is I would argue that it's not above the second floor. It's below it. It's because above the second floor to me would be above the windows where they originally had it.
No, it says in the code, basically, location. Where a building has a sign band, any direct application of a wall sign or raised panels must be located in the sign band. So
Yeah.
first off,
Yeah.
you've got a sign band and you're not locating it there, right? In a case of a one-story building, no portion of the wall sign shall be located higher than the roof line. And in the case of a multi-story building, no portion of a wall sign can be located higher than the second story floor line.
Yeah, and I think that's where it is.
No, it's not.
Mm,
It's
I
not
mean-
on the floor. It's not on the floor line, basically. I mean, if I open that window and I stand inside, how far down is the sign from there?
Scroll down, put the picture back up, if you could, just.
I'm sure that the floor line is right about in there.
Hmm.
All right. And otherwise that windowsill will be on the floor line. I don't think it is.
Well, how do you feel about the location of the sign?
I have no problem. I personally, and I'll let Bob talk as well. I have no problem with it being there.
Okay, so,
It sort of makes sense. You know, would I like to see it in the band? Yes. Does this make me do I have a problem with this location? No. I think it fills in a gap. It looks good. It works. So my recommendation is you go to the board and say, instead of it being up here somewhere, we're making a nice little strip down here, and yes, it's above the floor line, but we'd like you to bless that zoning board.
yeah. And as far as the size goes, don't you think the way this is laid out balances the building? I mean, because the issue that Dana has with this building is used entirely by his businesses. So that's why he's trying to make a statement about the building as a whole, not the storefront. And that's why the goal is to label this building, to let the public know this whole building, it's a financial center, not like a shop that you would go into that door for, because so that's kind of what the goal is.
My personal thing basically is that we need a yardstick basically set for everything, and that's what I've created basically in this future chart. And I'd like not to basically break that by doing something that basically makes the sign bigger, and therefore someone else can point to it basically. I get this all the time from people that are coming to town and put a sign up. Well, how can they do it? How can they do it? Well, they're grandfathered in. So I'd rather not have something that basically they can point to, because I think that you can still do something very tastefully, which this is. All right. It's just larger than I'd like to see it by what we're going to do in the future. We've done the same thing with Hart's Hardware. We allowed them to do a much bigger sign basically based on that chart. And it works out, when they get around to it, basically, it's going to work out very nice after they do the facade work and everything else, which Dana's done here. He's done all this facade work. Well, guess what? Hart's Hardware is going to do a similar sort of thing. And they've had that on the burner for 2 years now. Just the finance of it has been a problem. So
Yeah.
I'm not.
So Jim, I just want to ask, I think what you said just before Brian spoke, I think I agree with. I'm like the placement of the sign, I'm fine with. I think that the scale of the sign is appropriate for the scale of the building. And even if it doesn't meet the letter of the requirement, because I'm thinking if you say financial center and you cut it down to 35 square feet, it's going to be too small to read. It's going to be like fine print. And
Well-
so I'm not really sure like how to address that other than saying that it's okay because the height of the letters is in accordance with the requirement.
Well, there's no requirement here because it doesn't exist. It's basically a gauge that we've created for the future. So, you know, that future hasn't come yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we could, you know, that gauge may change sometime when it does become formal through further discussion, like so.
I mean, I think as Bob is, you know, kind of saying for the building, Jim, this is probably one of the biggest facades in downtown. You know,
All right, guys, I got booted out for some reason. I missed the last 5 minutes, but
it's okay. Just, hey, we're basically where we are, Dana, was, if I can just kind of recap, is that, you know, I asked them to consider the size of the sign appropriate because it's for your whole building. It's not just for one shop. It's a
Right.
statement that you're trying to make, that you use the whole building for your financial services industry that you operate. And you know, Jim is pointing out that it doesn't meet the requirement, and Mr. Burnett is pointing out that I don't mean to speak for people, but he thinks, you know, in this context, it could be appropriate because of the size of the facade. And I just pointed out that it's probably one of the bigger facades in downtown as a whole.
appreciate that.
That's
Yeah,
where we are.
that sign ban that you're talking about, Jim, that's a small part of the business. So to
Well,
put,
Dana, they're fine with the location of
Oh,
where
okay,
it is.
okay.
It's a matter of what we're on now, I think, is size.
Don't dig a hole for yourself, Dana.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So basically, everybody seems to be fine where we're placing that sign. It's more the size of it.
Yeah.
Where the formula says it should be 35 square feet. We're at over 70, and the question is, what is it appropriate for the building? And I was proffering that because of the size of the facade, it is appropriate, and Mr. Burnett was speaking to that also. So,
I think, you know, I think the way maybe to solve this to some degree would be, can we get another image with 35 feet? Can Banner basically, I assume Banner did this.
no, Roger did it.
Roger did, okay.
Yeah. No, I can't, but you know, just in looking at this, you're talking about half the size of the current sign, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
it-
basically where it says financial, that looks like that would be 35 square feet.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Jim, that doesn't do much for me. I mean, I've spent a lot of money here, and to turn around and cut it, that looks like a pimple on a wiffle ball.
You know,
Um,
I personally don't disagree with you. I guess
Yeah.
I'm standing on a circumstance, and certainly I own it, which is to create that chart to control basically sizing of sign. And I think the impact is more, it's an interesting thing because it gives a trial to that chart. The interesting thing is that unlike CVS, which is 35 square feet of sign, theirs is basically letters are very high. The sign is less than this in width, but much greater in height. In some ways, it's sort of like your first sign. It's big and bulky. This is slender and slick, basically. So, and to Bob's point, having a small band, almost like a sign band, basically, there basically is really appropriate given the architecture of this building. So I understand where you're coming from. And certainly this is much, much better than what was originally proposed and is more relevant to basically what the intent of the code is to begin with. So I'm having a little difficulty getting off my horse, I guess.
But, to Jim, to Brian's point about this being a larger facade, I mean, shouldn't that be factored into the chart? Buildings that have a large,
It is factored into the chart, basically, and the length of the building is what it is. But what's driving it on the negative side is the limit on the size of the size of the sign. So you can never have a bigger sign than 35 square feet. But, I'm willing to be talked out of it.
well, my point was that could it be beyond, not just the length, but the overall surface area that we're talking about?
We're not talking about length, we're talking about square footage. So, that can go in any direction, basically. But in this case, you're hemmed in by the windows, obviously, and the roof. So I don't know, I guess Jeff is gone again, but Jeff was here.
No,
Jeff,
I'm here.
all right, so.
Well,
Jeff,
sorry, I thought you were asking for my opinion.
yes, I am. Yes.
Well, I mean, I think we're all in agreement that it's better, it's appropriate, but the ultimate issue is that our hands are tied. We can't approve anything that doesn't meet the letter of the bylaw, and we can't speak to a hypothetical chart that hasn't taken place. The best thing I think we could possibly do in this case is to write a letter saying as much, but speaking in favor. I mean, I think I'm in favor of it at the current size, even if it's twice 35 square feet, because I hope there will be a day when the design review board has a little discretion. I think that this building, it's not a one-story building that is huge that only deserves one sign. It's multi-stories. It's one business. It's not like it's a shop below with apartments above. I think there's a case to be made. It just can't be made to us because we don't have any authority to approve it. So rather than waste their time, do we make a motion that says, write a letter that under the letter of the bylaws has to deny the applicant, but recognizing the special circumstances, the scale of the building, the single tenant across multiple floors, the fact that, it's not a donut shop with three floors of apartments above it, that we have to kick it to the ZBA, but we would be in favor or support it as much as we can. And that we hope in such time in the future that we will be able to handle these things and not have to kick it to the ZBA. But as long as that bylaw is not amended, we have to point to a chart that's already existing. And, no amount of me and Bob and you saying we think it's much better and that it's appropriate allows us to approve it. Unless I'm mistaken somewhere.
No, I think you're correct. I mean, if there were multiple tenants in here, then it certainly would be much busier. This sort of consolidates everything. So, and it is a large facade, and you're not allowing, basically by the current code, to have signs above that anyway, as it's written now and as it's written in the future. So it's just that they have to ask for this because and we can say yay or nay, but we can't say that. We have to deny it to begin with, just like we have to deny the location, just like we have to deny the lettering size, basically, but we can still support it all and make recommendation of support of this concept. So I think I'm there at this point, and I would recommend that we make a recommendation for the concept, basically, and let the board deal with it from there.
Right, that's where I am. I would, if I had the discretion, I would approve this sign. But I can't, but I can certainly put my name to a letter that supports it at the ZBA and just references the fact that we can't approve it, under the bylaws.
Well,
But that we hope the ZBA would.
that's what we've been doing in the past anyways, is that we
Right,
have
exactly.
to deny,
Yeah,
but we have a secondary memo, basically ZBA saying that we support the concept.
yeah, I'm just making the motion that we do it, that's all.
Okay,
So Jim,
Thank you.
this is, board members, this is Brian McGreal again, and thank you for your comments on this. They're all good. So one of the things that we wanted to talk to you about, Jim, the design review board, and Roger and Dana and I met on this yesterday. As you know, Jim, he's redone the whole facade of the building, and he's got an existing sign on the front of the building on Main Street up high.
yep.
And the thoughts are, and Dana, please insert yourself here, that we might want to do something different on the front to balance it out with what we're doing on the side.
Well,
To maybe bring that down, because Dana was saying yesterday, he really doesn't want kind of a high sign on the front and then, a sign down here. And it might be a better balance for the building. I wanted to have that discussion now for a couple of reasons. For full disclosure purposes to the board, which Dana wanted to do when we talked yesterday, let's have a discussion on this, so there's no surprises. And number two, if we're gonna go that direction, where he has a special permit pending before the zoning board, perhaps we want to do that together, so he doesn't have to reapply, pay for me again, pay for applications again, take another 4 months. When we're looking at the building now, maybe we should resolve everything where it's pending before the board.
but I told Dana back, sometime back, that he's taken the sign down. He was putting the sign back up, that he was keeping the old sign and basically putting it in the same location.
That's right.
It was maybe being spruced up and repainting it or something like that, but in the same colors and everything else. And that was fine. There was no reason to ask for anything because you're doing maintenance on it, and you had to do the maintenance on the building. So as far as the regs are concerned, basically, he can take it down, repaint it, and do whatever it's, but can't change the lettering on it. He can't change the color on it, but he can maintain it, and he can put it back in place in the same location that was there after the facial work was done on the building. If he moved it or changed it, basically, then it's a whole nother ballgame.
Right.
Yeah, so, and that's fine. Danny, you want to pipe in?
Yeah, so Jim, the idea was, I mean, I have no problem putting it back up. I just, to me, it doesn't, the building won't look balanced. If you're looking at the corner, you're gonna see one sign up above where, my understanding is you guys would rather not be there anyway. And then the other one is down below the first floor windows, right? So, I'm okay with that. It would probably look a little bit more conducive to match the Albion Street side.
But the problem is, the secondary problem here is, though, that's an existing sign for a business on the upper floor, all right?
Okay.
And it's not a first floor business. The signs that are on this level have to be a first floor business. They can't be a second floor business, except in your case, your grandfather.
Right.
So you can have that sign, you can keep that sign for as long as you want until you don't want it anymore, basically. But
right.
If you're gonna move it down, then you've got another battle, which is you're a second floor business. And you're gonna have to come back with, I don't know, a matching sign like this on a lower level, so it would be a whole new sign. Which means then you're gonna deal with the same issues you got here.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I guess my thing is I'm trying to play nice in the sandbox, right? I have no problem leaving the sign up there. I just thought you guys would rather have it down based on the fact that you don't want me to have this one higher, right? So it's like, I'll leave that one in the front just where we had it. I was just, Brian was thinking you guys might want that one down, or somebody was thinking you guys might want that down below.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Dana. I thought, it will be an opportunity for the design review board to have a global discussion on the building.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I didn't want, and I agree with everything you said that we can put it back up, but I didn't want to put it back up for a couple of, until we talk to you, because for a couple of reasons. One, that after it goes back up, that your review board or the ZBA would say, geez, what a shame. Too bad it wasn't put back, you know, to match the other one. And two, once it goes back up, now he puts holes in the building on the facade. So if we then decide to bring it back down, we've kind of ruined all the work that he did on the facade of the building and compromised it.
You know, the holes in the building, given the material being used, is so easily patched.
Okay,
I got that when we were doing the one of the other ones down the street, several doors down, basically. You know, we can't fill in where the old box lights were and everything else. And then when the business went in, when another business came along, they filled it in and matched it perfectly. So it's out of the bottle, basically, type of stuff. It's so I don't buy that, you know, you can't patch it. My problem is going to be basically if you want that sign, basically we're going to get into a discussion about the size of the sign and everything else. But even more so is the fact you're not a tenant on the first floor. That's not your entrance on that thing. This financial center is supposedly got an entrance on from both sides. In fact, the financial center, if in fact there's entrances from Main Street and from Albion Street, they can have a second sign there for the financial center if they want. As long as
Dana, is there an entrance to your building on Main Street or no?
Yeah. So,
but that's an entrance. Is that a public entrance used all the time for the financial center, or is it just an exit type of thing?
all for the financial center, all for any type of client that I'm working with in financial services.
Oh,
And those services, those businesses and companies range from CPA, bookkeeping, loans,
Investments?
and financial planning.
So it's a business that has two entries on a public street. Therefore, it can have a sign on both sides.
Actually, it has 4 entries on public streets.
Well, the one you can't count the one going up to the second floor or the second or third floor, and the other ones are right side by side going to the same business. So it's all about exposure to the street and a public entry, basically. So it doesn't matter how many doors, they're all ended up in the same place, 2 of them anyways. So if you wanted to do a financial center sign on Main Street, it was appropriately sized, but it was for that first floor business. You could do that. You just have to come back and let's make sure this whole thing is comprehensive, covering everything.
But if we did that, Jim, we'd have to take the one up high down, right? Because you can't have 2.
Nope, it's grandfathered.
Okay, all right.
And it's grandfathered in that it's on the second.
I got it.
Business, all right.
Yep.
The financial center is the one on the first floor.
Well, I think what we should do, Dana and board members, we should just get this one done now, and then we can revisit anything that we might want to do.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Dana?
Yeah.
Great, but I just wanted to have that discussion because potentially we might come back, and I didn't want the design review to say, wait a minute, what, you should have told us that you were considering this, so that's all.
No, I've already mentioned this a while back, basically, that as long as there's a doorway from the same business on the first floor, that could be that sign on the front. And I don't.
Dana, what Jim's saying is you might actually be able to do a third sign on Main Street. So
Yeah, I don't. It gets to the point. I want to keep the building looking good too, Brian. So I think that's just too much signage, that more than what I really need or would like to see.
Yeah, the building looks so beautiful. It would take the tastefulness of the building away.
Right.
It's not to do with the number of doors. It's the location of the door on either street from a single business. You could have 5 doors on Main Street, basically, and it'll still be just one sign.
Got it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Jim.
So I think at this point, I think you're getting a thumbs up from the board members, and I will write a memo to the zoning board. One, I'll write it to the building department saying, denying, and then a second memo, basically zoning board, and recommending that this concept basically be accepted. And if you want to pursue that tomorrow night, I'll make sure to get something done and before the board, and I'll be at the board meeting anyway, so, I can support it as part of the design review board.
Great, and.
Excellent. Thank you. I
yeah, so-
appreciate that.
Dana, are you available? You or Roger tomorrow night for a Zoom meeting?
I am. I'm available tomorrow.
All right, let's get this done.
Okay.
Because I got it on the agenda. I continued it just in case we were gonna be ready.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
And Jim, Roger can I just share my screen for a minute, Jim?
Sure, if I can figure it out.
I think you gotta click on me and make me co-host.
Yeah, I gotta find you first. You're in.
Okay. Let me find it.
Does Jim have to stop sharing his screen first?
I think I can bump him out.
I've made him co-host, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, yes. Okay. So I had Roger update this, Jim, for the board, just for record. Okay, so sign height 2 feet, letter height 20 inches, just to document it.
Yeah, but your length is 75 feet.
Sign length. Oh, yeah. Roger, you gotta update that. See that?
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
No, that was the area.
No, it's
Yeah.
35 feet.
Yeah.
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 35.
Yeah. Should we put the spec on a note on the material here, Jim, or no?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Roger, you can do that tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
So,
Yeah, they should be like raised letters, gold tone or whatever, and, like blue background, whatever.
and Dana, we're not proposing any lighting at this point, right?
No.
No. Okay. All right. So good, because I think they're going to want to document that. And Jim, I think if I bring this tomorrow night in conjunction with you, they'll be fine with that for the record, don't you?
Should be.
Yeah. Okay. We're good.
Very good.
Great.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dana. Dana, so I'll connect with you tomorrow, Dana, with the link and stuff. Okay.
Okay, we'll talk in the morning, Brian. I'll give you a call.
I'm around.
Okay, cool.
All
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jim.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks,
Good job.
Bob.
All right. And how do you pronounce your name?
Vaseth.
Vasant?
Vaseth Chum. Vaseth Chum.
Ah, okay. And let me see if I can.
Oh, I just unmuted myself. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Seth Chum.
Let me see if I can pull up the next one here. Get back to my Is that up, Brian?
No.
No, we're gonna go through this little problem, huh?
Click the share button.
If I can find it again.
You want to bring up the picture that I sent you? Or you-
No, I
Oh,
want to,
okay. You did a memo on it?
I did some stuff, yeah.
Okay.
I've sort of lost my the screen here. Come on.
Get a charger.
Damn. I lost the faces of everybody except for one.
I'm here.
There we go. Maybe that will do it.
Jim, I'll be right back.
Okay. I may still be here trying to get this thing up. I just got the face, but I don't have anything else.
You want to email it to me and I'll bring it up?
Yeah, I could do that. Hold on. I got two things I'm gonna send you.
Okay.
One has to do with what you submitted, and the other one is gonna be
I'm on mute.
an image, basically, as to what, what we think might work.
No, this is good.
All right, the first one's gone through.
Okay. Think I got it.
You got it?
Yep. Yep. Okay. You want me to bring that one up first, Jim?
Yeah.
The other one just came too. There you go. Got it? Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that the one you want, Jim?
Well, some reason or other, everything's shrunk down to a.
Oh, I can blow it up.
Oh, I'm back in. What do you know? All right, so blow that up a bit.
Okay, hold on. There you go. There you go.
So here's the issue, basically. Now, I understand that what we're talking about. Why don't you pull it up a little bit further? So here's what has been submitted to us for purposes of conversation. I'm not looking at this as a formal presentation, or we're not looking at it as a formal presentation, but more as he wants to basically do something here, and what can I do? All right. So the regulations basically under 190-99C13, you cannot put sign on a roof. And this roof is got no edge on it, so there's no place to even put a sign there. And the last sign that was up here is actually, if you pull this up a little bit, was a projecting bracket sign. And before that, or recently, maybe zoom in on that a little bit, Brian. So the last guy that left there was some sort of barber supply. And before this, you can see there was a projecting bracket sign was classified. And it's way up there. It's out of the way. You can't see much of it, basically. It's dark color. The building's dark. and it gives no presence really. And it's a 9 square foot sign, so it's right by scale, but doesn't do anything basically for the business. Now, what's happening up and down Albion Street, very nicely so, I think, is we're seeing more and more projecting bracket signs because it's a narrow street. There are, it's very difficult, unlike Main Street, to see a wall sign on the face of the building just because of the narrowness of the street. But on the other hand, driving or pedestrian wise going down the street, is a bracket sign is very, very helpful. And we've got one more coming before us in a month or so, I think, at this point, a bracket sign at the far end. But we have the model shop down on the far end. We have across the way, we have the art center, basically, which has got a fairly large sign because they've decided that basically they didn't want a big wall sign. Plus, the architecture didn't really present itself well on that building. So we basically end up approving, or the zoning board approved, basically a big projecting bracket sign. So with that, Brian, if you could bring up the next one.
Yep. Okay. Coming.
So if you look at this, we use the space and we put the sign lower, and we use the space for a projecting bracket sign and use the void that basically is presented by the roof. And you can see the one on the left has got a teapot and the name, and I don't know whether the name is one word or 2 words, but at this point you get the idea, is that we would suggest the best sign for this building would be a projecting bracket sign, because you'll get more attention basically on the street from pedestrians, across the street, on the street, and even cars driving up the street. You have no room left below the canopy to put any sign. And the sign on above that canopy basically would be too far out. So this basically reaches out onto the street and really gives you some presence. So I'm not suggesting that this is the sign, but what I'm trying to say is that what we think, this gives you the best opportunity. Now, what's involved with this is basically got to come up with a design that utilizes that volume of air out there, and at the same time, figure out how many square feet you need to make it. 9 square feet is what's allowed, but as with the art center across the street, that is bigger than 9 square feet. And that came before the board basically to get approval. Using a teapot, basically, since this is a tea business, seemed to be sort of like a symbolism basically for this. Now, you may not want to do something like that. You may want to have a triangular sign sitting in there or something like that, with a name, or maybe even some graphics on it or something like that. But I think, you're sort of asking, what can I do here that would make a difference? And I think this is what would make a difference, is to use that volume for a bracket sign of some sort to put out there. And it's up to you then to basically come up with a design concept to use that, because that's the best place, I think, on the street. And there's going to be more and more of these signs as we go along on this street. So there's going to be a lot of bracket signs over time on the street, and businesses seem to recognize that it provides the best exposure for buildings along the street. So that's, I think that's what we thought was maybe the best solution for there, was a bracket sign of some sort. And this is just an idea.
What do you think, Vishal?
Yeah, I think it looks great. I mean, like Jim was saying, I just got to figure out the design of it, and the square feet of it that allow. I just got to seek someone who can design it and put it all together. I mean, anything right now helps. I mean, this actually looks great versus being the sign being up all the way up to the top.
Yeah,
So,
I think if you put some color to it, I think it will stand up better. And if you wanted to, I don't know what your hours are, but there are several signs around that have lights on them. So in
Yeah.
the evening, basically, particularly during the winter, basically, you can light these things up. And,
sure,
and if you walk down the street, you'll see some of these signs.
sure,
It doesn't mean like the the teapot basically has to be round and shaped like a teapot, but it can be just a flat surface in the shape of a teapot. And there's the model shop, I think, uses a layering system down there. That's a sign, and there's several others down there basically as well. Plus there's some others in town on some side streets, but you walk down the street, you get a sense as to how those were done. And you can
sure.
ask, we can't tell you who to go and talk to, but there are some creative people in this town, basically, and there are some that aren't so creative. So, but you might look at what the signs are on the street and ask some of those people as to who did them.
Sure.
Yeah, what this is gonna do for you, Ms. Jeff, if somebody's coming from Melrose looking for you and they see Albion Street, if they're coming in that direction,
Sure.
if they take a left on Albion Street and you just had that roof sign, they will go right by your building. They won't even see it. If they were coming from Linfield, they would see it because they're taking a right on Albion, it'll be right in their face, but coming the other direction, this will it will hit them right in the face when they come around the corner that that's where you are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
We're,
I think it helps you because don't forget Albion Street's a one-way street. So if your customers miss you, they've got to go all the way around again to get back to you. So
yes.
they can't just turn around. And then they'd be halfway down Albion saying, where the heck is it? I missed it.
Sure.
Plus you got a building coming just across the way and a little bit further down, a few doorways, basically, that's going to bring more people into the area. So you got, there's events happening in town, basically, they're going to change what the opportunities are.
Absolutely.
So what I can do, Bisheth, I can send this to you so you have kind of like an idea. Okay, so.
Yeah, that'd be
so-
great. I'll bring it
Yeah.
to a designer and see if you can send me the dimension of the sign. I know it's the roof is in an angle, so I won't have much.
Jim, do you have the dimensions on this roof or
No,
not?
no, this was just freehand, basically. And so I have no idea, how high or low that bracket should be to get the volume necessary, nor the lettering size. I didn't do it on an architectural program.
Yeah,
I actually did it. I did it in Word, actually.
your sign guy's gonna have to go out there, Bisheth.
Yeah, just have them do a bunch of sketches and the like, basically, till you get to where you want to be. Brian,
I have to get going. I'm gonna turn into a pumpkin soon. So,
oh, well, thank you, Bob. Thank you.
thank you. Good luck. I like the concept. So.
Thank you. So as far as the location goes, with the sign, does it have to be centered or off to the left or to the right?
It does not have to be. It does not have to be centered. It can be left or right. It can be anywhere along that face. You've got two windows, basically. So you've only got three choices: left, right, or center, basically, for that sign. So if you want to push it more to Main Street, you could do that.
Yeah, it's really gotta be centered to look right.
Actually, yeah, I'm sorry. They got four windows.
It's four windows, so yeah, probably have to be centered.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you
But-
can make that, Classified Realty made their sign too small, Jim. You can make it bigger.
Oh, yeah. No, and it's dark, so it doesn't show up.
Doc. And actually, I think they mounted it too high, to be honest with you.
No, I agree with you.
It's too high, Bisheth.
Yeah, that's just too high.
It's too high.
Uh,
I mean, so they
No.
really, yeah. So don't call
How far can the bar can be extended?
I think you should just consider it basically going out to the edge of the roof.
To the edge, okay.
There are restrictions on basically awnings and stuff like that as to how close to the sidewalk you can be or edge of the sidewalk you can be. But in this case, you're dealing with an existing roof. And those restrictions were based upon snow plows on the sidewalk, basically. So you're up above all that stuff, but you can't, you're basically on the sidewalk. That's public way. It's owned by the town, all right? So I think you're pretty safe to go out to the edge of the, or maybe slightly over the edge of the roof, because you're already over the public way. If that roof wasn't there, then there probably would be limitations as to how far you could go, but the roof is actually setting precedent for you.
Okay.
Brian, when you send that to him, will you send it as a PDF?
Oh, I already sent it.
Uh,
Why?
Just because when you move, if you start touching it, it might fall apart.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, on words.
Yeah, because it's a bunch of components basically. So in order to freeze them in place, it's best to make it a PDF.
okay, I'll do that right now.
Yeah.
What was the reason why we can't have it on the roof?
It's basically the regulations say you can't.
I see. Makes,
In fact, it's worse than that. I think, Brian, you've got it. You still have that up?
Yep, hold on.
Not the new image, but the one he produced, my memo.
Yep.
The last part of it, I think, is the section of the code that says what the roof is. It's
Hold
one
on.
of those basically even the board can't deal with.
Oh, it's one of the prohibited.
Yes. So you can't, there's no way around. You can't even ask the board basically for relief.
Yeah, it's 190-99C13. You put it down.
Yeah. So, so that's why we say this is the best option in our minds for you. Since you're looking for direction, this is what we're thinking you should work around.
okay. And then the sign dimension, how big or how long can I go? Do you have that?
It's 9 square feet
9 square feet is,
total, all right? But I think that if like across the street, you wanted to ask the board for more room because the design makes sense in a larger format, then that might work, all right? But we'd have to see it,
Sure.
obviously. But it doesn't want to be, it's, like across the street, the scale of that building is 2 or 3 times yours. So you need to be in scale with your building, but at the same time, this is the only sign, like across the street, this is the only sign you're going to have on your building. So I think that the board would look at it, and we would as well look at it, that because this is the only sign, that you should have some dispensation here to be larger than 9 if you need to be.
okay.
But it's gotta be quality type of appearance, basically, to win us over at the same time. Which I'm sure you'll do. If you've just got to find the designer.
You got to find the designer, yes. As far as, is there a public sign somewhere on Main Street that I can post to get customers seeing where the boba tea comes on Albion Street?
Not that I know of.
What do you mean, Jeff?
Like a public signage, a post with
No.
signage.
Well, yeah, I can connect you with the economic development director. She might be able to do something like on the, the sign they have by the common, Jim.
Yeah, that
Yep.
electronic billboard type.
Yeah,
of
I can connect you with that, Visheth.
Okay. Just to drive walk, I don't know, customers in and let them know what direction is the boba tea is at.
Well, I don't think there's that, but there might be something that you can like, post through the town that you're coming soon.
Oh, you know what? That you came up with a good point. I do have a sign. It's that says coming soon. I don't know how big it is. It's just like almost like a flag.
You,
Is that
you,
something I could?
you can put 6 square foot flag up on, or sign on your building. All right. So it doesn't require permit. It doesn't require review by us.
Okay,
It's basically so that a business that's coming to town but's not open yet,
sure.
or a business basically is still having its sign made up, has some signage. So you're allowed a 6 square foot sign to be put on your building, basically. So, probably a cloth type of banner or something like that.
Yeah,
Not a flag, but something that drapes across the front.
yep, just a banner.
And something about the business, maybe, what the, when it's gonna come, what the business is all about. You are allowed to do that.
Okay,
But once your main sign is made up, then that's gotta come down.
sure.
But it's a 90-day period, I think, and I think you can get it extended for another 90 days if in fact, for some reason or other, the business didn't open right away.
Sure.
Jim, can you explain to this chap about the window signage? Just so he doesn't go astray.
Yeah, window signage basically wants to be no more than 10 square feet of each pane of glass. So you can put some sort of message in the window that's no greater than 10 square feet of that glass area. So you can't add them up to windows and you get more.
10%, not 10 square feet.
What's that?
10%, not 10 square feet.
Oh, so,
Right.
yeah, sorry. Thank you. 10% of the glass, sorry. But you can do that in either window, basically, or both windows, depending on what you want to do. But given I've never been in that space, but I imagine because of the windows being so small, and even though you're going to enlarge them, you still probably don't want to put too much in the windows that would allow the light not to penetrate there.
Correct.
But
Yeah, we won't be putting any signs on the window. Maybe a couple posters of the product that we sell. That's about it.
You can put temporary posters basically in a window.
Yeah,
It can only be there. It has to be rotated basically.
yeah.
So, and I don't know if there's any real restriction on those. But permanent signage, basically, then it's only the 10% of the glass.
Okay.
Jeff,
Okay,
So, Brian, not to get off the subject, so the last meeting that we had with ZBA, I didn't quite understand what was going on.
okay.
Um,
So simply this, I'm not gonna tie this board up, but they waived the site plan, okay? So we got it, the only thing we need to go before them now is your signage, what you wanna do with this sign, okay?
okay,
Now, we're scheduled for the zoning board on the 14th. If you get this sign design quickly, we can get back to this design review board possibly to review it
okay,
prior to then, okay? Because we need their sign off before we go to the zoning board.
well, you need two things. One is you need us to deny you.
That's right.
And we need to deny it, telling the building department basically they can't grant you a sign, but that you're going to file with the zoning board basically for, say, instead of being 9 square feet, you want to be 10 square feet or 12 square feet or whatever. And then we need to write a second memo to the zoning board saying that we like the idea, or we recommend basically that the size of the sign be increased or whatever. So you're gonna have to come back to us next with the sign design.
Yeah,
And you
That's right.
may wanna, I don't know, it's entirely up to you whether you just wanna take care of that yourself and then come to us with a complete, or whether basically you wanna send something ahead of time. Because I can, for instance, I'll look at stuff ahead of time. And if you haven't provided this piece of information, that piece of information or whatever, is I can tell you, please go back and get that information on the
Sure.
drawing. And then we'll do the formal review.
great. Yeah,
Okay.
so I've already applied to the zoning board, Jim. To
Okay.
save time, so that's for the public notice.
Yep.
But we're obviously not gonna go back to them until we come back before you guys
Right,
and have it resolved on what your, you know, what you want us to do. And
right.
so if it's Jeff, so the sooner you can do it, because we're on the agenda for the 14th for this at the zoning board, but if we're not done, we'll have to bump it a couple of weeks to the 28th.
Okay,
the-
yeah, I will, get
Get
to
around-
the designer as soon as I can and see what their availabilities are
Okay,
and try to come up with something.
stay in touch with me, okay?
Sure will.
Thank you, Jim.
Anything from you, Jeff?
No,
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
All right, so if we're done
Thank
here,
you.
yeah,
We're done. This was a great meeting. Thank you.
all right.
Thank you.
If we're done here, then I'm closing the design review board meeting as of 4:42. And thank you for your time and effort, and we'll be seeing you back again.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Jim.
great, thank you, Jim.
thank you.